Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, the CMSnetwork.com, talkingintoinfinity.com, and the CMS Network Rumble page. We are at those locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are watching on YouTube, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time that we go live. And if you are looking for audio replays of the show, just Google Talking into Infinity podcast, and we are on pretty much any of those awesome audio podcast platforms you can possibly think of. Without further ado, let me bring on my esteemed co-host straight from the unemployment office, where he's collecting his chips, Mr. Brian Hendrickson. What's up, man?
Hi, John.
How's it going, man?
Hi, friends.
Look at that. Man, we got the chat's loaded already, man.
Yeah, most of them are comments about me trying to egg people on about your hair.
Hey, that's fine. Look, I decided tonight I'm just going to take the beating. What the hell? I figured everybody had fun with it the last time, so why not play into it?
I'm gonna wait for Aiken. I usually can't top his anyway. I think I already used all my best lines.
Right. Oh my God! Look at Kale already dropping the ball. Kale, always great to see you, brother. He says, "Oh no, I forgot to do the homework."
Well, you could just do this thing called Google, and it'll pull it up pretty quick there for you.
There you go. There you go. Ziri tuning in says, "Hi guys, good to see you, Ziri. Thanks for tuning in." Our good friend Doug McCauley is in the chat. Some dickhead named Brian Ader 1968.
Sounds like a total loser.
Our good friend Chastity Crawley checking in. So good to see everybody. This will be fun, man. It's always good to do these. I think I like that you had this idea. It's interesting to look back at this, and this is kind of an interesting year, because I really thought that once we started getting into the 2000s, I would have a hard time choosing albums, because I'm very narrow-minded musically, as I've said on the show many times, and as you can attest to personally. So yeah. So, Doug McCauley, Matrix hair, John. I like it. Yeah, I figured that would cover it up a little bit, but also the second and third movies of the Matrix trilogy were released in 2003, and I'm a huge fan of them. I will die on that hill. I know people generally shit on the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, but I think they're cool. So, but yeah, I actually, I found a bunch of albums in 2003. I was kind of surprised. And you actually had a hard time finding records.
I did. Well, I started doing this thing now when we do this, where I put in my favorite bands, because I think I missed some last time by not doing that. They just weren't showing up on the list. So I plugged in like my top 5 bands I knew had albums around that time. Nope.
Still didn't help.
So I literally went to like 5 different sites before I finally found something that had like 50 plus albums, that were, in my wheelhouse, or stuff I actually remember had bought or thought about buying. And
right.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was more challenging for me than for you, but I still ended up with, I think, what I consider 8 pretty solid ones.
Okay.
But real quick before we get into that, 2003 was not a great year for it was rap albums and rappers in general. So January 24th, Brazilian rapper Sabotage died in Sao Paulo. I don't know if you know this or not. May 19th, Camouflage. We lost Camouflage May 19th, 2003. October 24th, Half a Mil. Remember him? He died in Brooklyn. In November 26th, Soulja Slim poured one out for a homie. He died in Gentilly, New Orleans. So, not a good year for rappers.
I can't believe you pulled out.
Anyway,
That's amazing. Oh my God, you are such a schmuck, I swear.
you know what's
Oh,
funny though?
God.
I was trying to pull up 2003 rap albums, and literally the first thing that comes up, it shows all the guys that died.
The ones that croaked, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was comical because it doesn't do that when you pulled up rock albums.
That's messed up.
But
Oh.
yeah, Camouflage. I miss that guy.
Yeah, how'd they hit him?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, very, very poor joke. But
Yeah.
all right, so a few more comments in the chat here, and then I actually want to play a little clip of something before we get into tonight's topic. But Ali Studio, always good to see you. Says, "Hey, John and Brian." No H in the John, man. Let's get the spelling correct now. Come on. He says, "Hey, John and Brian, what's up? Keyboard tracks for DT16 are recorded, just so you know." Yeah, from what they were saying, it sounds like the whole damn thing is recorded. No, I mean that was kind of the inference, but I did James finish his vocals?
I never heard about the vocals, but it's possible.
Yeah. So I know he was going to record them a bit ago, but I don't know. Weird. Like I saw that they're done, they're not. So, Planet of Shapes, good to see him. And he says, "What's up, boys?" Our buddy Puzziani says, "I started driving in 2001. Metropolis 2 was the only CD in my player until Train of Thought." Nice. That's awesome. All right. So real quick, we wanted to play a little snippet of something for all you guys who actually caught John Petrucci's solo tour. Was that like 2 years ago or whatever it was? And Mean Streak opened. And I know we actually got a lot of positive feedback on Mean Streak from people that visited that tour. And our good friend Chris Aiken actually conducted an interview with Mean Streak drummer Yale Rallis just this afternoon, and it'll be coming out on the CMS network pretty soon. But he touched a little bit on, them kind of being compared, well, not compared to, but thought of as like, the quote unquote Wives of the Dream Theater guys band, so to speak. So we got a real quick clip of that. So you guys can check out. It's only about 2 minutes long. So we'll play that. And again, that interview, the full interview will be out here pretty soon. I think it's next week sometime. I don't know for sure, but all of Chris's interviews are up on CMS network, and he's doing some great stuff. I mean, next week he's interviewing Steve Vai, he's interviewing Danny Carey, he's interviewing Chris Slade tomorrow. And who's the other one that he mentioned? He's doing somebody else that's like huge, but yeah, so he's got some huge interviews in the pipeline and stuff, and he's got great stuff there. So if you haven't checked out Chris Aiken Presents yet, make sure to do that. But in any case, here is a little snippet of our good friend Chris Aiken, the mighty Chris Aiken, talking about the Dream Theater connection Mean Streak has with Mean Streak drummer Yale Rallis.
Every review, everything starts off with featuring the wives of Dream Theater. That's how the band is presented a lot of the time.
Right.
I personally do not think that is a. I get it. It obviously will make a lot of people that might not otherwise listen. I don't think it's a blessing for you guys personally, because musically, you're nothing like that. You're really not. I mean, you're all great players. I guess on that level, you guys are great
Appreciate
players,
that.
but there's nobody there's no music being put out from Mean Streak where people are like, wow, there's the 17-minute opus, or there's no Dream Theater style of music. For you looking at it, is that comparison a blessing, a curse, a little of both, or what?
I think everything in the music industry is a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, as far as it being like knowing the history, that the Real Housewives of Heavy Metal tag is pretty much where people are getting the Dream Theater connection, because 3 of the girls are married to 3 of the guys. I actually introduced them all those years ago to each other. I believe that even if we're not anything like Dream Theater, and because Mike is now back in Dream Theater as like another buzz, they kind of, both buzzes came out at the same time. So we just kind of went with that a little bit. But I believe that there's a lot of other areas that get touched. You're the first person, to be honest with you, that was like, this might not be the right way to. No, I mean, everybody notices it.
Sure.
But I don't think that the curse part, I get what you're saying, because we're not a prog rock band.
Right.
But at the same time, we did tour with John. So the Dream Theater fans are the ones that got to see the band first again now. I mean, if King Diamond took us out and we could like redo the Them tour that we did, that would be freaking awesome. And I said freaking for you. You see that? That would be awesome because it's such a, dynamic, that kind of like breakdown of music and that level of guitar playing, that level of drumming, to me is more, I guess, parallel to the sound of Mean Streak.
So there it is. There is a snippet of Chris Aiken interviewing Mean Streak drummer Yale Rallis. And again, that will be available on the CMS Network page probably the next week or so. I think he's putting that up. It'll be on Chris Aiken Presents. So if you haven't gone and checked out his interviews, make sure to check it out there. Giovanni Pelaia says, Mean Streak rules. The new EP kicks ass. Love it. Doug McCauley. They have an aggressive marketing strategy, but I've never heard them play. That probably won't change. Brian's not as big a fan as I am. I thought they were really good, Doug. I would actually kind of recommend it. Aiken said they're kind of Anthrax-esque. They're a little bit thrashy. I thought they were cool when they opened for John Petrucci. I actually enjoyed them. So I would recommend you check them out. So,
dude, I would for sure go if they get on a King Diamond tour. That would be awesome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, dude, I thought they were kind of like a perfect support band because you get like, some thrashy stuff. I mean, they could play, they could definitely play. It was interesting. I thought it was good. So
yeah, I kind of did like the fact that they were more old school metal. Like when you got that much prog, is coming, like you don't need an opener that's going to do that.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be as good as Petrucci and Portnoy anyway,
Right. And it begins. Here we go. Oh, Chris Aiken. I didn't think I'd see that hairstyle until later tonight during the presidential debate. There it is. There it is. All righty. Let the bashing begin. And in fact, now that I think about it, fuck Aiken. Don't watch his shit. He's terrible. Fuck that guy, the fat piece of shit. Crispy critter. Burned up looking Freddy Krueger motherfucker. All right, so let's get into tonight's topic, which if you guys have tuned in before, we've done several of these already, but the idea here is that it is the year 2003. We want to buy the new Dream Theater record, which of course this year would be Train of Thought. But we go into the record store and the guy says, nope, you can't have it. So we are trying to figure out what albums we would buy when we can't have the new Dream Theater record. So I just do mine in order of release date. I always have a favorite that I saved till last, but I couldn't really pick a favorite. There's one in here that I think would be too obvious, and I like many of them equally. So I think I'm going to forego having a favorite. How did I actually have 10 and 3 that I could have put in there, which is usually how you usually have way more than I do, and you have 8 this time. So you had a hard time with this year.
Yeah, I had 8. I could have put in 9, but there was something I knew for sure you were going to put in, and I wasn't as strong on that one as you were, so I figured I'd just let you have it as yours and, make my comments that, I still liked it, but it was kind of no point in me putting it in there at that point.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was tougher than I thought. I mean, once I did find my 8, I was like, oh, wow, okay, duh. Right. But it's impossible remembering what came out when, especially 21 years ago.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, well, I will go first since I have more than you. So I have a record first here. Again, this is release date order. So this one came out on March 25th of 2003. And it's one of the biggest sophomore albums that has, ever been released, I think, at least in terms of sales, you would think. It's huge, at least in recent memory. The first record was amazing for me. I think this one, the follow-up, is amazing as well. I actually, speaking of Chris Aiken, I actually wrote a column about it in his magazine, Music's Bottom Line, when this came out, against your good friend Brian Sabin, who said that this album was too short and it was a mirror image of the first record, so it wasn't good because they tread no musical ground. I said it's awesome because it does sound like the first one. They nailed it the first time. Why not go back for more? I have Linkin Park's Meteora. So crucify me for my first album on this list being a Linkin Park record on a Dream Theater podcast. But dude, those first 2 Linkin Park records are undeniably good. There are so many great songs on there. If you're into that genre, I mean, they kind of, were almost like the flag bearer for nu metal, and they just, hit after hit after hit. And, I mean, it's a little short. It's only like 35 minutes long or something like that, which is really short. But, dude, it's a great record, man. I mean, like I said, Saban said he didn't like it because it was just the same thing as the first album. And I was like, well, who gives a shit? The first one was great. I don't need to hear, Linkin Park trying to do jazz fusion. So, so I have Linkin Park Meteora as the first one of my 10. So, did you like the Linkin Park records at all, or
Yeah,
not?
I think they're both good. For me, they don't really stand the test of time, and I don't know if it's because I'm a little bit older. When you were younger when that came out, maybe it hit you a little bit harder at the time.
Right.
Like, I totally appreciate what they are, but it's just a band that, like, I have the first two. Well, obviously I have Spotify, so I have access to anything. I never find myself going, oh, I want to put on some Linkin Park, but
Yeah.
I can appreciate what they did, and you're right, they were kind of a forefathers of sort of, starting a new type of movement and really sort of getting those electronic things going in there and using a lot of loops and things like that and into metal. And yeah, I could totally see. I'm a little shocked you had them in there. I didn't know you were that much of a fan, but I understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, it's like, I'm like you just said, like, you don't actively go out and say, oh, I got to listen to some Linkin Park. But when I hear one of the songs, I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to that in a while. And I'll go in, and the album's so strong that I find myself listening to most of it. And I'm going, God, I forgot how good this is. And both the first album and the second album, I both have that effect for me. So
Is which one is Breaking the Habit on? I love that song.
that's this one, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Is it?
I think that's my favorite song they have. Oh, there's some real power in that song. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so, even like, yeah, Breaking the Habit's on this one. Yeah, I mean, they're even like the B-sides. There's one called Easier to Run on this album that I absolutely, no one ever talks about it, but I freaking love it. So,
I like the one from the Transformers movies too. I thought that was cool. Is
yeah,
that on there also? I'm not sure.
Maybe. I think so.
Yeah.
I'm bad with the soundtrack stuff unless it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you have first on your list?
Well, first on my list, if I can't find train of thought, I am frantic, tick-tock going.
Well, we're taking Brian off the show before he can complete that absolutely atrocious, horrific fucking take, because anybody that would want to spend any kind of money, time, or attention on Saint Anger is an absolute dumb bastard son of a bitch. Terrible. All right, go to your number 2. I'm not even going to listen to that trash. You can't be serious with that.
No, I'm not serious. Of course I'm not serious.
Okay, good.
I am serious about, I can't see in here, The Darkness. Hey, the debut album, Permission to Land.
There you go.
Opening riff, Black Shuck. It sounds like something that fell onto the cutting floor for Highway to Hell. I mean, straight out of AC/DC 101. Justin Hawkins comes right out firing away like Freddie Mercury just inhaled all the balloons at a kid's birthday party or something. And the thing about this band is, look, either right away you can deal with his singing or you can't. I don't really think there's any in between on it. There's a lot of debate on, does he do that to try to be funny? Is it supposed to be a shtick, or is that just all part of it? And
yeah,
blah, blah. I don't really know. And I don't care, because I saw him live on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I thought they were one of the best live bands on there. Get Your Hands Off of My Woman, Motherfucker, which, of all the songs that have that word in it, probably my favorite, right?
Right.
But I think I told you before, there's a hilarious version of Ben Folds doing it strictly on piano, and when he's like singing it in falsetto, it's amazing. It's a great song. I think it's the third song, Growing on Me. And a buddy of mine told me that this song is actually about, getting an unpleasant virus from someone else, let's just say. So the pre-chorus is like just pure ear candy, that's got the hit that's now basically an anthem, believe in a thing called Love. Most of it, it's just a roller coaster. It's like, it's just going to go off the tracks anytime. There's kind of a cool, I call it sort of a garage blues punk. It's called Stuck in a Rut. There's one sort of a ballad in there, Holding My Own. And then towards the end, Friday night, they do this, it's kind of a Raspberries Badfinger, like power pop 60s jangly guitar thing. And they're sort of able to sort of meld all these together, and it sounds like a band that's been together for 40 years, making this album, even though it's their first. And
right.
Everything's done past the point of excess, but who cares? I mean, that's just what makes it a great listen. And live, like Justin, they'll throw him a guitar, and he's wailing away, playing these amazing solos. And yeah, I mean, this album, I think most people probably, you could get 6 songs and you're fine. 5 or 6, that's all you need. But those 4 or 5 to 6 are great, man. I mean, I just think it's a lot of high energy, and it's kind of it's sort of like a happier, more fun Black Crowes or something. You know what I mean? Meets AC/DC, meets like Jets. Those bands are all kind of together. But I think The Darkness did it the best because the songs are catchy and it's just fun.
It's just fun rock, dude. I mean, we actually, when our previous bass player was in the band, he could actually do all that power falsetto stuff, and I would play bass on Thing Called Love.
Right.
Dude, people went ape shit for that song, and even just playing it, like, it's a simple enough riff that you can really rock into it. It's like, it's not difficult to play at all, but it's just catchy and fun. Like you said, it's pop hooks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of the band, but it's definitely and Justin Hawkins, I have to say, like, he's one of those guys. I think you have those artists where you don't like their music, but you like them. He's one of those for me, like, because the guy he speaks his mind. He's blunt, he's direct, and he's fun. Like you said, I mean, I've seen live videos of him. The guy is he's just a total entertainer. So I wish I liked The Darkness's music more, but very cool stuff, man. So, all right. So the second one on my list, this one was released on April 22nd of 2003. This is not my favorite album by this band, but I think I would have to say it's in my top 3 of this band for sure. And it definitely has a couple of my very favorite songs by this band. I'm talking about the king of the pinch harmonic himself. It is The Blessed Hell Ride by Black Label Society. I'm a big fan of Zach. The whole kilt thing and the poofy bunny ear hat that he wears anymore, I'm like, what the hell is that? But I let my buddies and I talk about it and laugh. Like, he probably does that to see if anybody will make fun of him. Like, if anybody has the balls to, like, walk up to a 6'2" muscular Viking and go, "You look ridiculous." Like, so but yeah, I mean, this is just a kick-ass record. Stoned and Drunk is on there. Stillborn, obviously, probably their biggest quote unquote hit. Funeral Bells, awesome. Destruction Overdrive. It's just a really, really great freaking album. It's I mean, the unfortunately, like most of the Black Label stuff, Chastity Crawl, I'm waiting to share mine. I'm building up the nerve to get dragged. And Rob Karukangas, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. He says BLS. That's the first good album mentioned so far. Don't worry, we'll bring up plenty of other shitty ones too, man. But yeah, I mean, this is Black Label is one of those bands, like, I don't listen to them all the time, and I don't like all the stuff. I think there's a lot of filler on their records, but the stuff that's good is really goddamn good. And Bruised, Boozed, and Broken Bone is one of the best live DVDs I've ever seen. So yeah, I mean, this is just a great record, man. And Zach, it's like, if you're into guitar playing and shit, it's awesome. I just wish the records had a little bit better production. You know what I mean? Like, they were kind of thin. I mean, I love the production on Doom Crew Inc., the most recent one, because it's heavy bass, and it's like it's just thick. And the previous records didn't have a lot of that, I didn't think. But outside of that, I love it. So I'm a big fan of this record. So
yeah, it's just about anything he does, I always think there's some merit to it. Like, either the riff is just killer, or I just like the vocal line. And I know sometimes the stuff runs together, but I'm with you. I think the new stuff, I was probably the best stuff that I liked of him, and I was never, as much of a fan into it all of it as you have. But yeah, some of the stuff on that, just the guitar, I love the guitar tones. But we got to make sure we keep up on these here. So we got Doug McCauley says Iron Maiden, Dance of Death. Where are you on Dance of Death? I'm not a huge fan of that.
I don't mind it. It's my favorite record since they've come back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Brave New World was pretty cool. What's that song on Dance of Death? Rainmaker, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah,
or,
they play that sometimes.
Yeah, I love that song. I think Aiken is the one that's Passchendaele, I think, is on there. I think that's the one that he really likes.
Oh, is that on Dance Death? Okay.
I think so. But yeah, I know. I think Aiken said he really likes that. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's just, a lot of the new stuff for me. Sorry, I had to mute the mic there. I'm drinking pop and I'm burping like a motherfucker. Yep, there it is. Yep. Aiken says Passchendaele is the best Maiden song ever. I will see your Passchendaele and raise you, rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the Maiden stuff since Bruce has rejoined the band has kind of been. I mean, it's okay. To me, it's the best thing I could say about it. It's a good excuse for them to stay on tour.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. Sam Mathis had Coheed and Cambria. I think it's Secrets, Keeping in Secrets, The Silent Earth, whatever the heck that album is one of their bigger ones. I'm actually good with that. I like that.
Yep. He said Artist in the Ambulance by Thrice and In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3 by Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah, that's
I'm not familiar with either of those. Go figure.
Yeah, Coheed and Cambria. I'm a big fan of the musicality of them, but they put out so much material and it's so long and it's very Rush, it's very early Rush-ish, proggy.
Sure.
So it's kind of hard to like, unless you really are going to sit down with it. You can't just listen to 5 minutes here and there. Like you really got to immerse yourself into it, I think. So anyway, all right. So for me, what's my number 2? I don't like to just hang out alone. I like to get a tribe. So it'd be like a whole Queensryche. No, it's a joke.
I was gonna like, good Lord, please tell me. One of these times you're gonna be serious with one of these, and I'm like,
no. I think this one you're gonna appreciate.
Okay.
Number 2, I have Machine Head, Through the Ashes of Empires.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, I'm a big Machine Head guy.
God, what an incredible! I mean, from the haunting opening chords, Imperium, which they played this last time, just always great. The sludging, to the end of the sludging Descent the Shades of Night. I mean, Rob Flynn is a master of his craft when it comes to being able to weave these quiet and heavy parts on the guitar. I mean, sometimes lyrically, there's a little too many of the FUs and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But it's like left unfinished. It's like a manic journey, It's like you go down the rabbit hole and there's one twist after another. Elegy, it's like a mosher, The cool part that Elegy, he's got a little bit of spoken word going on in the verses, so he changes it up. But I mean, the epic on this is the 7 minute In the Presence of My Enemies. I mean, that is a thrash metal masterpiece. There's a killer clean guitar riff that leads into the slow brooding solo, and it's like super short, just little part in there you'd never even know was there. All Falls Down. It's like there's all these squawks. It's like Tom Morello would be blowing his load all over the place,
Right.
But I mean, to this day, a lot of people say this. I don't think there's that many rock bands or metal bands that are super unique in what they do. But this style of Machine Head and the very last album they've done, and probably 4 of the last 5, counting one kind of clunker in there, sort of in this vein. These 5.5 to 7 minute, just epic, just guitar virtuoso tracks with they always have huge choruses and just great riffs. I mean, no one else does this the way Machine Head and Rob Flynn does it. And when you hear him bust out those riffs and he starts singing, like, instantly it's Machine Head. And I don't know. I think he just really has something I think it's very underappreciated for as good of a player and especially as a writer that he is.
I think he's one of those guys that kind of suffers from a reputation of being kind of a bro.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Because I agree with you. I think they're kind of an underrated band. I don't go out and seek them out unless it's the first record. I was a huge fan of Burn My Eyes. But when you put those, like you said, the last several records outside of that was that Catharsis or whatever.
Yeah, that was the bummer one.
Yeah, that was a piece of shit. But you put the other ones on, you're like, God damn. After like the new metal record, what was that, Supercharger, I think it was called, or something,
yeah.
Or basically when they went back he decided to just actually be metal. It's slamming, dude. So yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
I mean, it's for metal, it's as prog as it gets, man. I mean, the stuff that's going on there rhythmically with the drums and the bass and all those guitar parts. I mean, if some of those songs aren't considered prog, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's involved. Yeah. All right, Ziri says, guys, how could you have forgotten OSI's debut album with Mike Portnoy? That was one that almost made my list, but I'm gonna get crucified for this. It was a little forgettable for me. So I liked it, but it wasn't. It didn't really grab me.
Is that the one with Kevin Moore too?
Yeah, that's Kevin Moore's
Yeah,
band.
I wasn't a fan of that either, honestly.
Yeah. All right, so real quick, Kale's got a weird one. He says, "Ooh, here's one you guys will absolutely not have heard of, and it's my least favorite album by the band, but the debut, Element 5 by Voyager, is definitely on my list. They only got better from there." Yeah, I've never heard of that. I might have to check that out then. All right, so number 3 on my list, I think Ziri is going to enjoy this selection. This one was released on May 6th of 2003, and for this era of the band, I think a lot of people might consider this the strongest of the 4 records. I would say that this would be the second strongest for me. But in either case, it's a great record. It's got a couple of solos by the late, great Dimebag Darrell, some of the last recorded work that he did. I am talking about, of course, the awesome We've Come For You All by Anthrax. Anthrax is one of my favorite bands. I love the John Bush era. I mean, I love the Joey stuff. I would have to say I'm probably a slightly bigger fan of the Joey stuff. But I love the John Bush stuff, especially Stomp 442. As much as Aiken wants to make fun of me on everything, he and I definitely agree on that album. But yeah, I mean, We've Come For You All. It's an awesome album. And I think what's cool for me about this one is that, you know, it comes on the back of Volume 8, which a lot of fans will defend, but I do not like that album. I think there's like 2 or 3 good songs, and then it's like the production isn't great. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. But then they come back with We've Come For You All, and they just start destroying, man. I mean, you know, What Doesn't Die is just amazing. Superhero's great. Safe Home. Nobody Knows Anything has that insane drum part to it. Like, it's just so great, man. You know, and you've got the Dimebag stuff, you know, the solos and Strappin' On and Cadillac Rock Box, and it's such a strong record by you know, as much as Anthrax is, you know, a member of the Big Four, I've always considered them to be kind of underrated, because I think when you compare them to the other 3 members of the Big Four, I think that their output was much more consistent. You know, Metallica had like 20 years of just absolute filth. You know, Megadeth had Risk, and then the, you know, World Needs a Hero was and you know, System Has Failed was okay. But I mean, Anthrax pretty much just kept putting out great records. And even the downer stuff, like I just said, I'm not a fan of Volume 8, was still a pretty damn good record. You know, and Anthrax just fucking rips. And anytime you go to an Anthrax show, you know they're going to sound like the record. They're going to be tight. They still have all the energy. I mean, they're just awesome. I love Anthrax, and this album is great. So, are you a fan of this record?
I am. I have like 2 paragraphs on it. I don't even know if I want to say it after you already talked about it.
No, go for it. So all right. So we agree on one. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, talk about saving the best for last when it comes to Bush. You know, the last album he did with the Anthrax. My God, the riffs, the vocal delivery. I mean, intensity. It just blows away every release he did, I think, to me, and it's not close. But the best part, man, the production is finally there. It's heavy as hell, yet it feels super clean and polished, but it didn't lose any of the balls, you know. Yeah, that instrumental opener is kind of a tease, you know, sitting there going, okay, I'm waiting for John Bush to, you know, do what he does, which is like, you know, melt your face, right? You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, John Bush is one of those guys, like, you could literally just be reading the words out of a dictionary behind some, like, thrash riffs, and you'd be like, you know what, that sounds cool. I don't even care what he's saying, because that voice is just so distinct. Like you said, Refuse to Be Denied. It's got that bluesy thing in it, and there's a little great acoustic guitar motif, super short again, just in the middle, breaks it up, you know. And this album has a lot of those little nuances here and there that you pick up on. Safe Home, like you said, great chorus. Cadillac Rock Box. I mean, my God, what a greasy, like, Southern Pantera right. riff, right? But man, you did not talk about my all-time favorite John Bush Anthrax tune, Taking the Music Back. Oh my God, I want to run through a brick wall when I hear this song.
No shit.
Dude, that little guitar riff right after the verse, where what it's doing is it's sliding up the neck, but the chord production, the actual chord progression goes down. So it's like there's this push and pull, and you get that. And when you get that kind of harmonic tension, that's what like makes stuff sound super cool. And people don't really realize that when they're listening to it. They just be like, "Oh, it just sounds cool." But the theory behind it, and there's just all those little cool pull-offs and hammer-ons in that song. The title track ending song, man, the harmonics on that main guitar riff, good God. And like I was saying, Bush does different styles, right? He does the quiet on the first verse, the real kind of a low, subdued talking thing. I mean, it's just a great album in terms of dynamics. You got, it's never just flat all the way through. There's all these highs and lows, and it's just a great ride. But man, yeah, what an incredible album.
That is a perfect word to use for the album's dynamics. That's an excellent way to describe it. The strength of it. That's awesome, dude. All right, so Doug McCauley says the best thing about Anthrax is the drumming. Fight me. I would say yes, but I would say the hooks. I think they're the hookiest of the big four, especially. I mean, no one would accuse Slayer of having hooks, obviously, but yeah, I could see that. Aiken says that they aren't the best four thrash bands, though. Testament, Exodus, Death Angel, and Overkill are all better thrash than Anthrax. And I love Anthrax too. You know that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to get myself crucified here before I go to my number 4. I really think Overkill is overrated. I'm not a fan of that band. I've tried getting into them, and there's something about it that just seems like if these other bands that Aiken is mentioning are Transformers, then Overkill are GoBots. So, those of you older people in the chat or listening will understand that reference. But yeah, they're almost like a kind of like the weaker version. So
I will say about Overkill, it's extremely old school. It's not the same category. It's almost like a punk thrash as opposed to, and it's not supposed to be what Anthrax is or what Testament is. It's really is a different kind of band. I appreciate them for what they are.
Sure. All right, so moving on to my number 4. This album was released on May 13th of 2003, and I actually had a drum battle with the drummer of this band, because when I was doing my band Gatlin, which I've mentioned on the show a few times, this band was actually rehearsing in the room right next to us, and we're writing this album. So I got to hear these songs as they were being put together. And this band had one record out at the time, and it was more electronic. And we were hearing the stuff they were coming up with going, holy Jesus, is that heavy as shit? And I actually went to high school with a few of the guys. And it's just, I always think about that sort of stuff whenever I listen to this record, which I actually do go back to this one quite a bit. But I think this record just kicks ass, and it's a band I don't think a lot of metal fans really talk about a lot. They're definitely on the smaller end of the scale, but I think they've got some great records, and this is the best of them by far. I am talking, of course, about The Impossibility of Reason by Chimera. So this album just has killer production. I mean, it is as tight as you could possibly get. It's heavy, it's obnoxious, it's aggressive. This record just absolutely fucking slams. And like I said, I was rehearsing in the room next door to them when they were writing this album. And when we were hearing some of the stuff they were coming up with, like, we would be in a break, and holy shit, they would start rehearsing one of the breakdowns that they would be putting into one of the songs. We were like, oh my God, like, it was just brutal. So that was awesome. And then I was screwing around playing drums and messing around one day, and our doors were open, and I was kind of like doing some goofing around, trying to do some speed fills or whatever. And all of a sudden I hear Andals next door. He starts, doing a little thing. And I was like, oh, so then I answered, then he answered, that, whatever. So I was like, oh, and everyone's laughing. They're like, holy shit, you're in a drum battle with Andals. I'm like, yeah, this is probably not going to end well. So after about 4 rounds, each of us going, all of a sudden from next door here, And I just yelled as loud as I could. I'm like, "You win!" You hear all these people up and down the hall laughing and shit. So, it was a good time, man. And those guys are really nice guys. And like I said, I went to high school with a few of them. But that notwithstanding, it's just a goddamn awesome record. If you haven't checked it out before, Brian, I would really recommend it. Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, I've listened to one or two Chimera songs. I thought they were okay, and I don't know if I was on the right album or not, or which one I should have been on. So I'll have to go back and revisit that.
Sure. All right. So what do you have next on your list?
All right. Let's see here. I got out of order there for a second. Okay. Next, 17 million copies for this album. And, it all started with this band they got on the Daredevil soundtrack in the video. This is Evanescence, Fallen.
Now, are you serious on this one?
I'm serious on this one. I really like this record, yeah.
I actually, this is one of the ones that almost made my list. And it's kind of funny, like, I was delivering papers for Music's Bottom Line magazine, which I mentioned a little bit ago. And I would get a bunch of the CDs in the mail, like from record labels saying, "Hey, review this, whatever." And I remember getting the single before the album was out, for Bring Me to Life. And I was like, I could not listen to the song enough. And I was like, man, nobody knows this band. And, it's on the soundtrack, but goddamn, if this was ever on radio, it would be huge. I remember thinking that, and all of a sudden it was huge. Like, probably the only time in my life I ever actually like thought people would really like it, and they did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyways, talk a little bit about this record. And I love the first half of it. I think after that it kind of falls off for me, but I know the first half is just basically almost untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, before Amy Lee, I guess the only thing, and I won't pretend that I liked Nightwish then or even like him that much now. I appreciate him, but I guess that Tarja Turunen is probably the only thing we had as far as a voice like that. I mean, she's got that classical feel. It's very haunting and desperate, but it's not like operatic or anything. It's got great range, depth, and emotion. And, her voice just fits everything. And, Bring Me to Life, massive hit. Going Under, it's just a great opening track, no matter what the hell the band is. Like, to come out of the gate with a song like that, just so powerful. Like, the harmonies are awesome. My Immortal, I love that song when it's stripped down with the piano. There's also the full band version. There's a newer band I really like called Dayseeker, and they put out a new album that has a couple covers on it. One of them is basically just acoustic guitar with this, and the guy just nails that vocal. It sounds great. My favorite song is Tourniquet. I love the way the guitars kind of bounce off of each other. There's some cool little harmonics and harmonies going on there. Yep. I guess that is a cover, according to what I found. It's actually a cover originally done by a Christian metal band. So they did not write that. They, I guess, covered it and maybe kind of turned it around into their own a little bit. So they got some co-writing as well. But, for that time period, it's a fun rocking album. You got the melody, the harmony, and I like it because it's got the keyboards in there. That keeps me satisfied and interested through the whole album, just colors it up. And, I think I kind of agree with you. It probably does fall off towards the end. I won't say every song is a total home run, but I think you've got a good 5 to 6 that are just so good that I had to put it on the list.
That's about where I that's where I stand with it exactly. But yeah, it was cool. So, all right. So at number 5, I have a live record that was released on May 20th of 2003, and this is going to surprise absolutely no one. And Aiken can feel free to crucify me, but I would be remiss if I did not mention one of my favorite live records that I've ever listened to. Fantastic production. It's got a great track list. It's called Live Hallelujah by Sammy Hagar and the Wabaritas. And kill me, crush me, do whatever you want to do. But this record sounds amazing. It's got an awesome track list to it. Great blend of Sammy solo stuff and the Van Halen material. It's a rocking album. It's a totally rocking album. One of my favorite things is that it's kind of compiled from a couple different shows, and at the end he plays a couple of Van Halen tunes, and he has Michael Anthony up, and so he's when Michael Anthony is up there playing, you can tell the change in the tone of the bass and the playing of the, it's so cool because you're like, oh my god, that guy just plays like a monster. So like it's just I go back to this record all the time. I listen to it a lot, and it's fun, man. I mean, I always like, it's Sammy Hagar, dude. Like I can't get enough Sammy Hagar. I don't love all of his stuff, but I love Sammy as a dude. I can't wait to go to the show this summer. I dropped way too much money on the tickets, but I really don't give a fuck. So Aiken says, why would I kill that? That's the tour I partied with them on. That's true. That you got Sammy to drop an F-bomb on live national radio. So that was good. Are you familiar with this album at all?
No.
Okay. Well, then we won't have you talk about it.
Yeah. Not even remotely, but I trust your judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're kind of a Sammy guy, so I would recommend checking it out. It's like I said, the production is awesome, the performances are great, and it's got a really good track list to it. It's a greatest hits, but he pulls out a couple rarities in there, which is really cool. So Giovanni Palaya, I think I might be pulling one off of Brian's list. But he says, shocked this hasn't been mentioned yet. Symphony X, Divine Wings of Tragedy. Did that make your list?
This is what I'm talking about. I tried to put in all my favorites to see if I forgot them, and they did not show up on any of the lists I saw. So I'm super annoyed right now because they would have for sure been on there. I love that album.
All right. So yeah, Puzziani
Yeah.
wants to know, by the way, he says, does Shinedown count in this fan base? Every album sounds like they grow up a little more. And as I commented in there, yeah, anything counts. I mean, it's your list of what you would want to buy. And,
Oh, yeah.
I've got a couple really embarrassing ones coming up, so don't feel bad about Shinedown, dude. I'm not personally a fan, but,
No, number 5, Muse, Absolution. Yeah, that showed up on a lot of lists. I'm not sure if I can remember what's on that album. And Stone Sour, I don't know which Stone Sour that is. I like the House of Golden Bones 1 and 2, but I don't think that's that year.
Stone Sour, I think the Stone Sour record in 2003 is the debut, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that, but I love that House of Golden Bones or whatever it's called, that 2 album thing. I think it's great.
Okay. Yeah, I liked a little bit of the first album, and it didn't grab me enough for me to stick with them down the road. So I heard a couple things I liked, so maybe I should go back and revisit that band. All right, so who do you have at your number 5 spot?
Okay, this is an album I didn't even know existed till today, but if I did at the time, I would have got it. Motorhead, live at Brixton Academy.
Wait, you can't pick a record you never listened to? That's bullshit, man.
Yeah, I had to do it last time too. So. No, I was listening to it all day today. Actually, it's freaking amazing. Anytime a band can start a show with a song that has their name in it, "We Are Motorhead,"
Yeah.
I mean, that announces the worst kept secret in the world, which you're going to have like 112 minutes of your heads getting ripped off.
Yep.
I mean, all the classics are on here: "Born to Raise Hell," "Ace of Spades," "Bomber," "Overkill." A very cool cover of "God Save the Queen." And you haven't lived till you hear Lemmy sing the last part, where it's "No future, no future." So let's just say if anyone ever says, "Hey, what key is that in?" the answer is whatever key Lemmy decides he wants it to be.
It's the key of Lemmy is what it is.
Exactly. Bonus points because I get 2 live versions of my favorite Motorheads of all time: "Orgasmatron" and "Killed by Death."
Yes.
"Killed by Death." I mean, "Killed by Death," such a lyrical masterpiece. You squeeze my lizard, I'll put my snake on you. I mean, joking aside, like the chorus on that song, you just raise your fist up, you're chanting out that "Killed by Death" part. It's got that descending minor chord progression. But there's like 23 songs on here, and it clocks in at like 105 minutes or something. And believe it or not, I was listening to this like basically all day today. I was like, this is fucking amazing. I mean, they have a few. They probably have 3-4 live albums out by now. But this is a great one, man.
I have to admit, I never got into I never got into Motorhead. Like I listened to it. It's just so much of it blends together. It's kind of like that AC/DC thing. Like I understand why they're so influential and why they're so great. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It's I did see them live once, at least 20 minutes of them. Anthrax opened for them at the Agora. And like Aiken said in the chat, he says, loudest shows ever. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
And like you said, he just walked out and goes, "We are Motorhead."
Yeah. We
You
play
know?
rock and roll.
Yeah.
I love when he
I wa-
says it.
I loved it, and he just comes out like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, okay, it's like I didn't dislike it, but I was like, okay, whatever. But I'm like, I totally get why people love this. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, just
oh my
get
God.
yourself a greatest hits, or just make yourself a list of like their top 15. That's all you need, and,
Yeah.
and then change it out and go find 15 more. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
but even some of their newer stuff, like they were still like, I like they could get down with an acoustic. They do a little blues set acoustically, like and he's singing the blues, and you think this is really dumb, but it's still heavy and it was still cool in a way. He was able
Yeah.
to make it. He was able to translate what he did to where people were like, you know what? I should probably totally hate this, but it's kick ass. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, this band that I have next on my list, Brian, is a little different from Motorhead, but I still think they rock. And one of the most energetic live bands I've ever seen. And this record is awesome. They're kind of like a guilty pleasure band of mine because I like something off of at least a couple songs off of each of their albums. Kind of pissed off I missed. It was I don't know why they were doing the 20th anniversary this year, but they were doing a 20th anniversary of this record a few months ago. So I think they're just on tour and it happened to fall in 2024 instead of 2023. But it had a couple big songs on it. Until the Day I Die, Anthem of Our Dying Day. Of course, I'm talking about Page Avenue, the debut record from Story of the Year. So kind of upbeat, punky, kind of nu metalish rock. But again, really, really catchy, super hooky. A little bit of metal influence here and there. And I really like these guys. I love the guy's voice. Again, they are super energetic. It's just a lot of upbeat stuff, and there's just hooks for days. And I think they're a great band, and nobody really ever talks about them. I mean, they were never huge by any means. Like, the only two songs anybody would ever know again are Until the Day I Die and Anthem of Our Dying Day. But I love it. I think it's a great record. I think it's a cool band. The stuff that came out afterwards, it had a lot of hooks that didn't get any attention, but I thought it was cool. So I really dig Story of the Year, and it's like I say, Page Avenue, September 16th of 2003. Are you familiar with them at all? Do you give a crap about Story of the Year at all?
That is one of those bands I know you've talked about, and I just literally know nothing about. I wouldn't be opposed to checking this out now, but I literally I don't even think I'd heard of the name until I met you or Bob or Saban or somebody.
Well, as Doug McCauley so aptly phrases it, Story of the Year was not the story of the year. Very well played, Doug. Look at this. Chris Aiken, Story of the Year. Couldn't find the Stretch Armstrong album at the record store? Sheesh. Dude, it's a good record. And besides, fuck you, man. You like Kid Rock. Kid Rock blows ass. I'm not gonna listen to this crap from somebody who thinks Kid Rock is a genius, okay? Like, that's just, I'm not. So
you did glance over his great comment earlier that said John would listen to OSI if there was a cover of Van Halen's Human Speedings on it.
I didn't see that.
That was epic.
I
don't want that one to slide by without getting out there.
Don't give him too much credit. We already played part of his show on here.
Oh jeez.
he got his pound of flesh. Chastity says, that is your guilty pleasure? Dude, mine kicks yours butt. Well, it's not. I can't say it's like I don't know. I think I have several guilty pleasure bands. I think I phrase it like that, Chastity, because not many people talk about them. And I think some people I think kind of, I've had people kind of wrongly guess that they're like wussy rock or something like that. It's like, no. It's not. So maybe misphrase that. So I know my next one will definitely be a guilty pleasure band that no one would expect I would listen to. But, what do you have next on your list?
This is a band I don't know if I've talked to you much about or your thoughts. They were on Gigantor, and I think they're one of the most underrated bands of all time. I think the thing that hurts them a little bit is they had 7 albums, maybe 8. Only about 3 of them I thought were great. The rest were kind of okay. I'm talking about, this was album number 5 for them, which I didn't even realize it was 5 already. Enemies of Reality, Nevermore.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those bands, they didn't get the commercial success I think they deserved. It starts with the title track, the spiraling riff with, World Dane's got that super high-pitched desperate wail. It's kind of what I call it. But it's a great super heavy chorus on this. Goes into ambivalent. It's a hammering thrash riff going on. Great double bass drumming. Tomorrow Turned Into Yesterday is a really cool classical acoustic guitar intro, kind of like something you'd hear on Battery maybe. And it goes into a really dissident minor, clean riff, and we get a little bit more subdued, mellower World Dane on this. Who Decides? It's kind of like it's like a funeral dirge, but I don't know. It's just he's one of those guys that just is able to like just narrate that. It's almost like an apocalyptic narrator. Like you feel like something bad is about to happen when you listen to Nevermore. I can't. There's something like foreboding, and I don't know. It's a strange thing, man. But the final track, Seed Awakening, there's a great riff on there. It goes into pure galloping thrash. But yeah, you feel like the world's going to end when you're listening to, just like any song. It's strange and a powerful quality to convey that. It's like an utter hopelessness, yet you're still like rocking like hell, because you're head banging and stuff.
Right.
And I would say this is probably their most solid front to back. I liked the next one, Godless Endeavor. Interesting side thing on this, I never knew. Kelly Gray, I guess, originally produced this album, and they did not like the production at all. So Andy Sneap did the remix, and there definitely is a huge there's a huge difference when you listen to the 2005 remix. But yeah, man, I mean, a guy gone definitely way too soon. World Dane. I mean, I miss him. I would love to see him cranking out some more albums.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that the guy that ruined Queensryche is the guy that couldn't mix a metal album correctly. Imagine that, Kelly Gray.
I thought it was the other guy you hated, the guy with the cowboy hat.
Yeah, but no, Kelly Gray was god awful for him too. But
Okay.
I mean, it's funny you mention that because Tribe was mentioned in the chat, and Kelly Gray was responsible for Tribe. So,
right.
yeah, I'm not overly familiar with a lot of Nevermore outside of what is it, Dead Heart in a Dead World? Is that the name of that record?
Yep.
Yeah, I know that one pretty well. Yeah, I listen to that a lot. The other ones not so much, but I definitely like them. I mean, dude, Jeff Loomis, for Christ's sakes. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Jeff Loomis. It's basically the two of them make that band. Aiken said, "Did I like Warren's solo album?" I kind of forgot it was out there. I got to go check it out, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't even heard it. I did not know he did a. I did not know that he did a solo record. Interesting. Okay, but I will agree with you though. Yeah, that guy died really early. I mean, what was he, barely in his 50s or something?
Probably mid 50s, and yeah, wasn't he like he was on tour or something? I think in like South America or something when it happened. Maybe can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that was sad, man.
But yeah, they have a kind of a cool thing. I think it was before he died. They uncovered a bunch of stuff that they had like found in this attic or whatever, and sort of re-released it and whatever.
Right.
So it's some kind of a box set type thing. But yeah, the Godless Endeavor, Johan Alexanderson. That whole album I think is great. That's the one after it. But yeah, I mean, you saw them on Gigantor. I thought they were great then because they were great because they played like what 6 songs. They're on there for like maybe 30 minutes, and that's like perfect amount of time. Like you don't need 2 hours of them. I'll take 45 minutes, but just play your best 45 minutes of Nevermore is going to blow the crap out of 90% of bands out there.
I would have taken their set being double the length, and getting no Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I hated that band. They sucked.
Or we could have done without Boba Flex as well. We would have survived.
The only thing I'll say about Boba Flex is that I played a few shows with those guys, and they were super, super cool. So for me, it was kind of one of those, oh man, guys I know are nice guys are on a big stage. That's cool. Yeah. So I'll give them that. But
right.
All right. So I have 4 left, and this is one of 2 that are this is the one I'll possibly get crucified for, and another one people are gonna be like, are you serious, dude? Really? So this I could say is officially like a guilty pleasure type band. There's 2 records I love, and the other one is the big record. This was the one that came after it, and the other stuff is kind of they're very mellow. So it's not a band you would ever think that I would mention that I'm, that I get into, but
John's on mute. Does he know?
I unmuted it. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, I had to burp again, man. So, all right. Anyways, I'll just get right through. Okay, so anyway, so this album was released on September 23rd of 2003. And this is Vertical Horizon, and the album title is Go. So this is actually the follow-up to an album called Everything You Want, which had a couple like major songs on like, you know, adult contemporary radio, whatever. Yeah, Kale, you didn't lose sound. It was my dumbass. I muted the thing to burp because I'm drinking pop, and I thought I clicked clicked the mute button. I didn't. But anyway, yeah, Vertical Horizon is a band that I really like. Again, it's very mellow, but the songs are catchy. They're very well written. Matt
Scanlon.
Scanlon, that's right. Yeah, he actually wrote a bunch of songs with Neil Peart. He was really good friends with Neil Peart. Yep. So there's some really cool stuff there. At this record, just and the one prior to it, Everything You Want, there's just really great songs. If you're into something that's easy listening, you know, just a mellow listen, it's good. And you know, there's some quote unquote rockin' moments, but for it, you know, quote unquote rockin' for them is how you would phrase it. And it's a catchy bunch of tunes, and it's, you know, it's light, and I just really like it. I really, really like this album. It kind of sucks it didn't get more attention, because I think it's just as good as its predecessor. There's just some really great stuff, and there's a couple songs that border on even being a little bit heavy. You know, One of You is one of those. There's a cool song that on the extended version of the record called Better When You're Not There. There's just, you know, there's a great mix of ballads and kind of like rock tunes. Aaron Taft says, good to see you, by the way. He says, I was just going to ask if that was the one with Neil Peart. I think it was some of the more recent stuff he did with Neil Peart, at least recent for Vertical Horizon, because Neil's been gone for a few years. But yeah, he did write some stuff with him over the years. I don't know for a fact if any of it is on Go. But I know he did work with him. But in any case, I don't know if you ever listened to this band at all, Brian. But I dig this album, and I like the one before it. So Vertical Horizon's Go record.
Yeah, their debut ended up on I think one of our other episodes. We both had it on the list.
That Everything You Want? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that ended up there, and we talked about how he's of all people, he's also great friends with Richard Marx, and there's some great YouTube videos of those two guys. Their voices blend absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember listening to a couple on this and really liking it, and then I sort of just kind of forgot about it. So
you forget about it, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, I think sometimes there's like certain albums. This maybe will be one of them. Like when you forget about, like, all right, let me write this down so I remember to go listen to that again, because I remember that it was pretty killer. But yeah, I mean that's a band that knows how to craft a song and craft a guitar melody line with it, and just set those two things on there to a T and get those harmonies down. And it's just, we talked before, it is such an incredibly difficult thing to do. And everyone's like, oh, I can write a song. No, you can't. Go listen to the first album or the second album of this, and you're gonna go, no, you're right. I can't write a song, because this is how you write songs. I mean,
it's one of those things where it sounds so simple what they're doing, but it's if you really were to like strip it down part by part, you realize it's not, and it's so difficult to do that. So I completely agree with you there. All right, so how many do you have left on your list?
Since we did Anthrax already, I only have 2.
Okay. All right. So what do you have next?
Next I have, there's a little confusion on this, but I did double check. I've got Dragon Force debut, Valley of the Damned.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Spotify lists as 2002. The interwebs confirms as 2003. I remember the first time I heard this, I was like, man, this is what I wanted Halloween to sort of evolve into, you know, once they got that far into their career, because I started with Halloween literally in like 1986, I think it was, or 1985. So I wanted them to sort of progress to this heavier kind of a thing. And man, those soaring guitar harmonies, you know. And what's cool about them is we joke about Dream Theater not a lot of major key things. There's tons of super major key happy anthems on this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, starting with the title track, it's everything. It's like a Dio 101. It's about riding, conquering, plundering, all the places and ages Dio loved, with swords, castles, and dragons.
Right.
And there's not one. There's two songs that have dragon in the title. Black Winter Night's got this killer swirling major, guitar harmonic thing going on. It's like your head's floating above the clouds as you ride your steed with the wings.
Right.
And like I always tell you, like I love when you get some decent keyboards behind those kind of riffs, because I think whenever you do that, it actually makes the riffs heavier, and people don't realize that's what it does. It accentuates those riffs, and it's like,
yeah,
it gives them like a nice soft cushion underneath, and so the riffs are like sticking out. Like, oh man, these are really heavy. I mean, it gets hard to distinguish one, I'll call them galloping anthems from the next, but who cares? I mean, it's like Revelations, Disciples of Babylon, Heart of a Dragon. There's times it sort of gets silly. Like there is the one When Dragons Rule. So it's almost like a piano ballad intro, and you almost start laughing, but then it sort of kicks into the full, I call it symphonic marching metal. But with Dragon Force, this is what you get. I mean, they do one thing, they do it 475 miles per hour at all times. So you could listen to this album, you could listen to the next one, you could listen to the one released in 2024, and you probably won't even be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I still think it all sounds good. And I was kind of pissed because they came here, I think it was 1 or 2 years ago, and I was thinking about going. I didn't go, and I'm kind of kicking myself because it's one of those bands I would love to see live, especially because it was at House of Blues, I think, and I'm like, that's the perfect place to go see them, if you get in the balcony there. But
yeah,
just a fun band, man. It's like the symphonic metal 101. I mean, I don't think any band probably does that style better than them.
I will be completely honest. I have never listened to a Dragon Force song.
Wow.
I think the only time I've heard it was on Guitar Hero, because my buddy could do the song that was on Guitar Hero on expert level. He could nail it at 100% with his back turned to the screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge, which is weird because it kind of seems like a band I would get into. So I should probably check them out at some point. But Rocketman 137 chiming in says, "Hey guys, good to see you, man. Thanks for checking out the show." All right, so moving on, the 8th record on my list. This one potentially could be my number 1 of the year, but again, I have a couple in the running for that. So this record was released on October 7th of 2003. This is the 4th album by this band. It's one of my favorite bands. If I don't love every one of their records, I enjoy everything they've done at the very least. And I really like this record. It's I think outside of their acoustic EP, it's their most melodic album, I would say. But I am talking about Seasons by Seven Dust, who may be, at least in my eyes, one of the most criminally underrated bands there is. They are just unbelievable, unfrickin' believable. And you can never go wrong with the Seven Dust show. You can never go wrong with the Seven Dust album. And, Seasons, if you're somebody who's not into the heavier aspect of things, this is the album for you. It's like I said, it's the least heavy album I think that they've done. But it's still got those awesome brutal breakdowns. The song Enemy, Morgan Rose wrote it about the Coal Chamber Dude and Face to Face, which they always play, like, the whole crowd screaming "fuck yeah!" like at the end there's cool. And I love Skeleton Song. That's like a mellower one, but even just the title track has got kind of like a slow groove to it, and it's just a great listen, man. Seven Dust, it's so sad with those guys, man, because they, god damn, like they get on all these tours with these bands that ended up bigger than them, and they are so much better than them. And I do not know how Seven Dust never blew up, because they had the songs to do it. There's songs with freaking hooks to them that, if someone would have just put some of this stuff on the radio and done their damn job, I mean, if they were on a bigger label, probably the issue, they would have been much bigger, because they definitely deserved it. I mean, the quality of the music is there. The live show is there. And man, these guys, I mean, I've hung out with them backstage before. They actually invited us backstage. Actually, if I remember right, it was either on this tour or the Animosity tour. But they are the nicest guys you will ever meet, dude. You'll ever meet. So I just love Seven Dust, and this is a great record. So Aiken, you are dead on. He says this and Animosity, definitely one of the best 1-2 back-to-back releases ever. Yeah, oh totally.
Wow.
Animosity is fucking great. This album's fucking great. Yeah, so I love this album. And I know we talked about this before we went on the air, but you're not a big Seven Dust guy, or at least not nearly as big as I am. So are you familiar with this album? Do you like it? Or
Yeah, the songs they play live on here, I like it. I think I told you, what did we say it was? Cold Day Memory?
yeah, Cold Day Memory.
I absolutely love that album. And maybe you could tell. So, what is the bass player's name in Seven Dust?
Vince Hornsby.
And the drummer is
Morgan Rose. Yeah.
So there is something going on with the two of them, that there is this groove. Especially, it comes on an album, but when you see it live, I don't know, like. So I've seen them twice now, and both times there was 2 or 3 other bands, and the other bands are all great. They had their own thing, but there is a certain groove that Seven Dust locks down between those guys that I don't know how it's done. And I think you know what I'm talking about, and maybe you can even explain it better, but there is just something locked in that maybe it's just a little bit off maybe it's like a little bit swingish or something, but man, it is just, there is a groove to it that it just locks in, and that lays the whole foundation for those guitar riffs to sit on top. But I don't know what that secret sauce is those two guys have, but it just not the same as other bands, the way they approach and lock in together.
Yeah. I think, I mean, first of all, like Morgan lays down a great groove, first of all, but Vince is a very percussive player, but he's not your typical down pick on the heavy parts thing. Like he sweet picks, and but because of that, he's getting a longer stroke.
Okay.
You know, like and so it's hitting harder because he's kind of like raking the strings rather than like a more, tight, right-handed attack. So that could be, I mean, that's a little, wordy or whatever, and like Aiken says, it's because Morgan writes most of it, so it's written around him. Yeah. I mean, that's very true too. I think there's a certain heaviness that they stylistically, I think they both have a similarity, and I think it just locks in really, really well. So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, they're similar to me in two, they're like the 2000 version of like 2 bands I always say never got any attention, or Enough's Enough and King's X. And I think it's similar to Seven Dust. All 3 unique bands, and like, are the radio DJs doing their job? Like are the people that do movies and TV doing their job? Because there's 4 songs on every album by all those bands that should have been in something, and like, or at least 2 on every album, even the albums that they weren't that great. And it's like, you're right, it is disappointing, because like a lot of times when they play as these openers or whatever, they only play like 40 minutes, and I want to see like an hour and a half of these guys.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Totally agree. All right, so I have 2 left. You have 1. So what is the last one on your list?
All right, last one on my list. This is way out of left field from everything else, but this is one of my favorite albums of all time, and it's Switchfoot, The Beautiful Letdown.
Wow, I am all right. Full disclosure, I couldn't tell you a single thing about Switchfoot.
I think
except for that I know the band name.
Yeah, if you heard 2 of the songs, you'd probably know them. The first time I ever heard them, one of the first singles was Meant to Live. And you know how like you hear something and like it's just the vocals that take you in, and so immediately you're like, this is back when you heard something and you go, I'm going to buy that tomorrow or today. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I miss that aspect. Like, full disclosure, I think we have lost something big time. We've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a little bit of controversy around this band. They were kind of originally a Christian rock band. They still are. They sort of denounced that label, but the singer, John Foreman, he had an interview, and I'm paraphrasing, where they sort of asked him about this, and he says, well, all of my songs I write about are about the 2 things in this world that I'll never be able to comprehend, no matter how hard I try. And the first one is God, and the second one is girls. So I thought it was kind of funny.
Right.
But, it's thinking of, again, it goes back to a time you heard a song, a new band, boom, you go buy the CD. Okay, so that hit me that way. Also, how many times this happened? You get the CD, and front to back, you don't stop. That's what I was with this. I mean, it's just like it goes into "This Is Your Life." It's kind of this contemplative rocker. It's got an amazing chorus. More Than Fine. The song "Ammunition." There's the other big single was "Dare You to Move." It's kind of an extension of "This Is Your Life." It's sort of portraying how scary and daunting it is, like to face life and commitment. When you're absolute lowest. How are you going to pick yourself up? There's a kind of a pop punkish sing along song called "Redemption," but the title track is a real cool. It's a snare, kind of a funky, snarling bass line. There's a little bit of the Christian elements in there. He starts talking about carrying a cross and he's going to set sail for the kingdom come, but it's not like really done in a preachy way. But this is just one of these albums that I like to listen to every once in a while. Something that makes me feel, that makes me feel something like, and whether that's contemplation, whether that's sadness, Raiders of the Lost Ark, illumination, what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't matter, but it matters that you feel something. And the ending track of this song is called "On Fire."
Okay.
And it's one of those songs. It just has. It takes me on an emotional journey. It's like I can't ever skip any of the songs. I've never been a guy who's into drugs. I like to drink, here time to time, but I just don't think there's a more ultimate high than when you find an album that is full of this many songs back to back that just take you on this journey. You know what I mean? And just sort of just lift you up. And it's just I just love an album where I just feel every song. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm rocking or I'm like dancing. I just feel something. And I just think I think they're one of the most underappreciated, incredible songwriter bands that have ever come around in my time. And I go back to this album time and time again. So, and they have a couple other albums that are good too, but I think this is probably their best.
Awesome. Yeah, you have to shoot me a text about that because, like I said, full disclosure, I have never listened to that band. I'm not familiar with anything. So I don't really have any commentary on it. I mean, it sounds like something I might get into though.
I mean, there's some elements in there that I could see you could probably say or have some roots in Vertical Horizon, the way the guitars and the vocals are. So yeah, I'll shoot you some stuff.
Okay. Well, my next record actually has a lot of the same things. It's got a lot of feel to it, a lot of emotion, some great playing on it. This is an album that was released on November 4th of 2003. It's kind of an interesting genre. And I don't know, like, I don't know who does it better. I don't know who's done it. You can't really think of anybody else but this artist. I mean, this album should be legend. It's not, but it really should be. I am, of course, talking about the gentleman who I now have on screen for our audio viewers. I am talking about "Come Poop With Me" by Triumph the Comic Insult Dog. Go ahead and kill me for doing this. I think Triumph is one of the funniest goddamn things I have ever seen. And the album is just, I mean, it gets kind of tiresome after a while. You're like, okay, I've heard the joke. I've heard the joke for a while. But dude, this album is hilarious. And I mean, it's got some real gems to it, man. I mean, there's there's songs about working blue. He has some prank phone calls to a Chinese restaurant looking for his brother, and all the dog humor. And I think my favorite song is it's a beautiful little number. It's called "Lick Myself," and yeah, it's so the one chorus is, "Yes, I can lick myself, wet my cock, have a good time watching Schoolhouse Rock, lick myself, taste my dick. You guys have fun at the Julia flick, lick myself, suffocate. You guys have fun on your double date, lick myself, hydro wank. Make sure you chat about Hillary Swank." I mean, you can't go wrong with gems like that. I mean, it is the dumbest thing ever, but I can't get enough of it. Triumph is absolutely hilarious.
Did you watch the TV show?
When he was on? Yeah.
with the guy from 30 Rock, Jack, what's his face? Oh my God, that was so good.
Dude, yeah, dude, some of the stuff that Triumph does is just so wrong, and it's just so funny.
The one TV show where he walks, he's like, it smells like Paul Sorvino's ass.
Yeah.
Like Paul Sorvino was there and it died or something or whatever it was. It's so stupid.
It was when they had like Fat Al Roker and he was on Triumph was on like Hollywood Squares, like they put me under Al Roker.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm gonna die. Like some of the stuff that he said is just so amazing. Oh my God. Yeah. Hey. There it is. Hey, can screen cap John singing for Saturday's CMS. That's fine, dude. That song is hilarious, man. I'm telling you, I wish I could find audio and share it real quick. It is absolutely
What's
hysterical.
the one YouTube where they go to that was that famous cheesesteak or hot dog place in Philadelphia where they're like rude to you or something, and he's like rude to the people. He's like,
yeah,
do you kiss your pimp with that mouth?
They do that. Yeah. They have one where he goes to the American Idol auditions in Honolulu, and they have this like kind of like this montage of all the people he talks to that are like, yeah, I'm doing it for Jesus, this, that, and the other. So he stops one guy and he goes, so what are you going to be singing? And he's like, I'm going to sing Amazing Grace. You know, it's a Jesus thing. He's like, yep. So he starts singing. All of a sudden, this guy dressed up like Jesus walks up and taps him on the shoulder and goes, yeah, it's not going to happen. And walks away. So he's got one where he walks. He's like making fun of all the people in line waiting for the theater to open for a Star Wars episode 2 in 2000.
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, he's like, the woman's pregnant. He's like, so when are you due? He's like, couple weeks, future Jedi. He's like, that's the last time he's going to see female genitalia. So, and everybody making fun of me for singing that. That's how the song goes. So that's literally the melody in there. So
I did not know Triumph had an album. Now I got to go get that.
Yeah, like I said, it gets kind of tiresome, but there's some really funny. You know, there's a song called Benji's Gay, like stuff like that. Like it's pretty crazy. But all right, so you should have one more, correct?
No, that's it for me.
All right. Well, I have one more. Back to some serious stuff. Speaking of bands, this is another sophomore album. So kind of following in the vein of Linkin Park's Meteora. This album was released on December 9th of 2003. And this band, I absolutely love their first 2 albums. And after that, it was pretty much crap. But the first 2 records for me are just absolute ear candy. This one ended up being bigger because of the title track, which has a stunning piano intro to it. Just musicality out the ass. If I were to sing it, the intro would go bing, 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 bing. So very difficult. I'm talking about The Reason by Hoobastank. So I love this record, man. This one and the first Hoobastank record, I think are just so unbelievably catchy. And I think this one is kind of this, like, again, it's the same thing like Linkin Park, where they had a formula that worked really well on the first album for them. And then, they just went, all right, we're going to do that again. The songs, I guess, are a little more progressed on this album than they were on the first record, but not a lot. And it's just really catchy, kind of, poppy, new metalish stuff. And I think the only disappointing thing for me is, the singer Douglas Robb, he didn't do a lot of the actual high singing live. He really let the crowd cheat a lot of it. And I was kind of bummed out by that, because I was like, dude, you are not nearly old enough to be pulling hold the mic out to the crowd for the high parts thing. Like, that's bullshit. Like, do your job. And it's not even like it's that high. So that was kind of disappointing when I did a show with these guys. But other than that, the first 2 records are great. This one especially, like, Goodbye Again is a great song. Is that on this one? I gotta double check that. Check my, but I mean, there's just so many awesome, just hooky, guitar driven tunes. And, I think This band kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but I think it's because they had like a quick flash in the pan and then nothing. They just From the Heart is the one I was thinking of. Goodbye Again's on the first record, but Just One is awesome. This actually kind of a bad thing to have, but the first single off this album is called Out of Control, and it features the singer from Lost Prophets, which is not exactly a feather to have in your cap anymore, as we all know. But yeah, I love it. I mean, were you a fan of Hoobastanks at all at any point, like, or any of their stuff? Or now you're on mute, like I was. So look at that. It's mute night. There we go.
There we go. Actually, so my wife she was big in mostly country, but she did have a few rock CDs, and one of the ones she wanted to buy was this one. And we would listen to this on road trips, and I love the whole thing, man. Same Direction, Out of Control. I think you mentioned Just One's a great song.
Yep.
Title track. I think it's just one of those. It's one of those things, and it sounds like a wham poor me thing, but when you get one song, especially if it's a ballad like that, and it's such a massive, massive, massive hit, you can never get out from under that to do probably what you really want to keep doing. I don't know. I think it sort of hinders you in a way. Now it also opens all these doors, right? But it's still everyone's like, this. I don't know. There's a song on oh gosh, what's the one where it's the guy's got like the army guy and he's like marching. Born to Lose, is that what it's called? It's like 2 albums after this. I absolutely love that song. But they're one of those bands. Every album has like 1 or 2 that I really like. This one probably is the one that has the most on it that I love. But yeah, we used to listen to this all the time, man, front to back. Now it's making me nostalgic. This is another one that I don't even think came up when I was searching, so I don't know what search engine I used, but I'm gonna have to find a different one when we get to 2005, because I definitely missed a lot of albums.
The next time we do one of these, when we hit 2005 for Octavarium, I'm going to send you the list that I use.
Okay.
So
yeah, because I definitely, that Symphony X for sure, that super annoyed me.
I can't believe you missed that one. That is just crazy.
It didn't show up on like Top Metal or Top Rock or whatever. But
wow, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Yeah, I agree with you, man. This one is like, hold on one second. All right, managed to work the mute button correctly this time. Oh, real quick, while Aiken is still tuned in. So Aiken, Giovanni Palaya has a question. He wants to know where he can find the full interview with Yale from Mean Streak. I wasn't sure when you were putting that out, so I just said maybe next week or something. I'm not sure. So if you could let us know in the chat so I can promote that. Yeah, like you said, it's just the songs are just so damn catchy. And they're just very well done, and they're kind of simplistic, I guess, but like we said earlier, there is something to be said for the ability to write a song that catchy and that simple. And it seems like such an easy thing to do to people, but it's actually much more difficult to write something like an AC/DC song than it is to write something really busy and intense and shit. Not on a level of like a Dream Theater. But you don't have nearly as much room to play around musically. Yeah. So with something simpler. So I think there's definitely an art to it that's very difficult to master. And I think the first 2 Hoobastank records definitely kind of nail that. So just great stuff, I think. So all right. So I have a couple that were almost for me. And one of them I'm ashamed to admit, but yeah. All right. So Chris says, Giovanni says, if you want it, John, I'll send it to you and you can put it on your channel too, since it's Dream Theater related. Yeah, I can, if I can get it in an MP4, I can put it up and then we'll just do a broadcast of it and people can pull it off our page. That'd be fine. Otherwise, if we're not doing that, Aiken, let me know when you're planning on putting it up and I'll let Giovanni know. So this record, I hate this band, but this album I actually listen to a lot. And I like the production on it, and there's probably about 6 songs I really like on it, but the rest of this band's catalog I pretty much can't stand. And they've gone to absolute 100% dog shit after this record, and fight me if you want. It's Faceless by Godsmack. Can't stand them. Extremely boring live band. The second record was pretty cool. It was okay. It had some songs. This one, like I said, there's like 5 or 6 songs I really, really like. But other than that, I hate Godsmack, and I will fight anybody on that. They're just terrible. And oddly enough, like, so I had Evanescence as one that almost made the list, and you already talked about that. But I actually had, even for fans of this band, I don't think it gets a lot of love, but I have Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit. I thought there were some cool tunes on there. I mean, this is the one after Wes Borland had left, and they got the guy from Snot, what's his name, Mike Smith or something like that. But I thought there were some cool songs on this record, man. There were some really heavy things on here, which was pretty cool. So I know that it catches a lot of shit for the first single, him say, "I'll sniff them panties," or whatever the hell Fred Durst was saying. But yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the early Limp Bizkit stuff, oddly enough, and I thought there was some, I thought there was some cool shit. So those are the couple records that I almost had on my list.
Yeah, full disclosure, I got out of the Limp Bizkit game after they started dipping their hot dogs in water or whatever. That was like
nice.
That was like I didn't mind the stuff on there, but then I was like, I probably don't need to hear what's coming next. I'm good for I had enough.
Right. Alrighty. So Aiken says that it will be hitting his channel on July 23rd, but he's going to give it to me, and I will actually. Chris, am I allowed to promote that on our social media that'll be coming out early on our channel, or should I just post it and not make any posts about it? I don't want to get you in any trouble, but Chastity Crawley, 1000% off topic, but am I really one of the only women on here? I think you're the only woman, Chastity. So, yeah. So,
if you can see this, I'm trying to show the CMS Network app, but I guess it's backwards in my phone.
That's okay. Nope. It looks good.
But
yeah,
download that CMS Network app, and then you'll see all of the shows, including Talking Into Infinity.
Yep,
it's a great app, man. There's some awesome shows on there.
Shitload of great content on there for sure. Definitely check that out. So, all right, Chris. Well, then when you send that over MP4 version, I will upload it, and then I'll let people know, like, hey, we're putting that up here. So, very, very cool. So, all right, man. Well, as usual, great show. Great idea on your part to get this series rolling. Obviously, next we will be doing 2005, and on that one we will actually have a couple special guests. We will have our good friend Bob Hurd and his buddy Bob, and tell everybody about their podcast real quick.
Yeah, from the two Bob's cast, it's A to Z. They are going through the alphabet of bands, classic bands first, and then newer bands. So starting with the letter A and B. I believe tonight they are actually recording Black Sabbath Part 2. They broke that up into 2 parts. The Ozzy part is already out now, and they're going to put up a part that has Dio and what's his name? Tony Martin. Sorry.
Yep.
So that's going to be the second part of that, and yeah, we're looking forward to those guys. They already started working on their list, whereas me, I'm like 2 days before I start thinking about it. So, and knowing what the other Bob not heard, he's going to come in here with probably like 74 albums. So I'm going to have to tell him, dude, let's cut it down to
like
keep
8.
it to 50, 10 at the most. Since we're going to have 4 of us idiots on here,
exactly.
But yeah, check it out. A to Z podcast, 2 Bob's cast. It's on all platforms, A to Z, rock and metal.
Not a problem. Oh, look, there's Hurd himself. He says, thanks for the plug. There we go. Oh, he's giving you all the hearts, Brian. There you go.
Nice.
So, all right, man. Well, thanks to all you guys in the chat. It's great to see everybody again. Doug McCauley, Chastity Crawley, Chris Aiken, JG3, Giovanni Palaya, Ali's Studio, all you guys, man. Always good to hang out. Joe Gebhardt, good to see you, man. Rocket Man, obviously Kale McLeish, Aaron Taft. So we will be right back here in 2 weeks. The date will be, let me think. What would it be? It'll be July 11th. It will be Thursday, July 11th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We don't know what we're doing yet, but we know we will be here, and hopefully you guys will be as well. Once again, guys, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified every time we go live. We will be posting the information when you can check out that. You can check out the interview that Chris Aiken did with Yale, drummer of Mean Streak, We'll be posting that pretty soon when Chris sends it over, so you guys can check that out. It's definitely very, very good stuff if you are a fan of Mean Streak. And Brian, always great to see you, dude. So hope if I don't talk to you before then, have a great holiday weekend next weekend, and we'll come up with something to talk about in 2 weeks. So
sounds good, man.
yeah, awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for checking out another episode of Talking Into Infinity. Remember, if you guys have a show topic or something you guys want to discuss with us, you can send us a direct message on Facebook, or you can email us at talkingintoinfinity@gmail.com. And don't forget, guys, we do have a Discord server. So if you'd like to go hang out and chat there, just go check that out. And people are logged in there pretty much all day. So till next time, I'm your host, John. He is Brian. And as always, Carpe Diem.